Peace and Pan-Africanism, brothers and sisters. Peace and Pan-Africanism, brothers and sisters. Peace and Pan-Africanism, brothers and sisters. It's the Prince of Pan-Africanism coming to you live from the Jean-Jacques Dessalines Nat Turner Gymnasium, coming to you live from the Most Honorable Marcus Garvey Elementary School, coming to you live from the Honorable Frederick Douglass High School. Hit the Cash App, $ FDMG School. Hit the Cash App, $ FDMG School. Hit the Cash App, $ FDMG School. Hit the PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Hit the PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Hit the PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Today's topic is going to be about the revolution of the self. Today's lesson is going to be about the revolution within you. Today's lesson is going to be about the need for a spiritual evolution in order to prepare for the political revolution. We have a lot of addiction in our community. We have a lot of depression in our community. We have a lot of anger and spite in our community. We have a lot of suicide in our community. One of the biggest issues that we suffer from as a race, and I'm speaking about the entire Pan-African family. I'm speaking about the entire Pan-African family. I'm speaking about the entire Pan-African family. One of the things that we don't talk about enough that have to be addressed is the spiritual starvation of African people. The spiritual starvation of African people, the spiritual thirst of African people. What is the word they use when there is hunger? What's the word they use when there's an epidemic of hunger? When a lot of people are going hungry for a long period of time, what is the word that they use? When a large group of people go hungry for a long period of time, what is the word that they use? I need that word. But Black people are in a spiritual crisis. Let me tell you why so many of us are so unhappy, so unpeaceful, and so enslaved to negative emotions. Let's talk about a famine. Thank you, family. Thank you, Brother Tommy Allen. Thank you, Sister Tahira Akwa. Thank you, Maya Ann. Thank you, Janelle Nicole. Mason Molapo. Thank you. Ballhead. Thank you. Famine. Black people are spiritually famished. We are a spiritually famished people. Let's talk about why. We understand that white supremacy creates the conditions and the circumstances that gives rise to stress in African people. We understand that white supremacy creates the circumstances and the situations that give rise to stress in the African family. However, the circumstances and the conditions The contextual factors that white supremacy places in the black community and in the lives of black people are not sufficient to lead to spiritual famine unless we cooperate with it. The Neanderthal race is a spiritually dysfunctional race. They are born into this world without a pineal gland, or should I say with a calcified pineal gland. Their lack of melanin prevents them from reaching higher levels of spiritual consciousness. And masturbate intellectually about spiritual liberation, but he cannot achieve it. I don't care how much Buddhism he studies and practices. I don't care how much Hinduism he studies and practices. I don't care how much Islam he studies and practices. I don't care how much of the Hebrew faith he studies and practices. I don't care how much Christianity he studies and practices. I don't care how much traditional African religion he studies and practices. He will never achieve spiritual liberation. He cannot. His melanin composition is not sufficient enough. His melanin composition is not sufficient enough in order for him to experience the higher levels of spiritual consciousness. This is exactly why he is so destructive to human life in existence. This is exactly why he is so neurotic about the domination of resources. This is why he is so obsessed with absolute power. And it is because his spiritual dysfunctionality, his biological backwardness prevents him. It literally has cursed him with the inability to achieve spiritual liberation. The problem with us as Africans, lies in the fact that we are trying to imitate, integrate, and assimilate amongst a spiritually toxic people. Let me repeat this. The central challenge of African people, I don't care if you in Africa, I don't care if you in Europe, I don't care if you in Asia, the Caribbean, Australia, Canada, Central and South America. The problem with Africans, we are trying to integrate, assimilate, and amalgamate with a spiritually dysfunctional people. And to achieve your integration, assimilation, amalgamation, you have selected a strategy of complete imitation. The African, the oldest man and woman on the planet, the African, the oldest man and woman on the planet, is trying to imitate and replicate the youngest man and woman on the planet. The oldest man and woman on the planet are trying to replicate the youngest man and woman on the planet. Imagine a great-grandparent imitating their 2-year-old grandchild. Imagine a great-grandparent imitating their 5-year-old grandchild. Imagine a great-great-grandparent imitating their 1-year-old grandchild. If you saw a 70-year-old person trying to imitate a 7-year-old, if you saw an 80-year-old trying to imitate an 8-year-old, you would think they were out of their mind. You would think that they were out of their minds. But that is exactly what we do as African people every day. We replicate and imitate the European because we have been convinced psychologically that they are the status quo of excellence. They are the vanguard of higher civilization because we have totally lost knowledge of self. We have totally lost knowledge of self, and in losing knowledge of self, in forgetting who we are and who we are supposed to be, in forgetting where we come from and what our purpose on the planet is, we have reduced ourselves to the level of imitation and replication of a spiritually deficient people. How can you be happy? How can you be progressive? How can you be at peace replicating a spiritually dysfunctional people? And these spiritually dysfunctional people have convinced us that the pursuit of money and materialism is the supreme goal of human life. Lord have mercy. Ashe to the ancestors. Ashe to the ancestors. These spiritually deficient people have convinced us that the pursuit of money and materialism is the supreme goal of human life. So you have one people, the Africans, and over here you have another people, the Europeans. They are biologically different. They are anthropologically different. They are historically different. They are culturally different. They are psychologically different. They are metaphysically different. They are biologically different. They are neurologically different. And the problem that the African has is the African is forgetting that his spiritual nutritional needs are not the same as the European. The problem that we are making as God's chosen people, African people are God's chosen people. African people are God's chosen people. African people are God's chosen people. And the problem we are making as African people is we are failing to understand that our spiritual nutrition, our spiritual needs, the spiritual need of the black man and woman is totally different from the European man or woman. You cannot go 24 hours without having a conversation with your ancestors. They can. If you do it, you become unbalanced and sick. You cannot go a whole week without having a conversation with your creator. They can do it. But if African people go a whole week without a spiritual conversation with your creator, you fall out of balance and you get sick. African people cannot go without offering up charitable deeds and acts of kindness, because your soul demands that you feed the souls of other people. So by not serving, service is a spiritual nutrition for African people. Service is a spiritual nutrition for African people. Service is a spiritual nutrition for African. You have to serve. We are put here to serve not only the Creator, but the Creator's people. Not only the Creator, but the Creator's planet. Not only the Creator, but the Creator's world. If African people don't serve, we get sick. We get spiritually sick. I've never done therapy with an adult. And I've never done life coaching with an adult whose presenting problem was not in some way related to selfishness. Selfishness is the opposite of service. Selfishness is the opposite of service. Selfishness is the opposite of service. The European can afford to be selfish. I understand his selfishness. The selfishness of the Neanderthal grows out of his caveman inheritance. The selfishness of the Neanderthal grows out of his psychobioclimatology. The psychobioclimatology of ancient Europe is totally different from the biopsychoclimatology of ancient Africa. The European was traumatized by the ice. The African was blessed by the sun. The European was traumatized by the ice. The African was blessed by the sun. The European was traumatized by the ice. The African was blessed by the sun. So much of our unhealthiness, comes from the fact that we are a spiritually rich people. Part of our unhealthiness comes from the fact that we are a spiritually rich people who have taken to imitating a spiritually deficient people. I need you to understand, understand. And as we have this conversation, we have some spiritually deficient Neanderthals all in the Instagram posts. And we have some spiritually deficient Negroes all in the Instagram posts. You cannot be angry at a person or people who is fulfilling their function in this world. You cannot be angry at a people who are fulfilling their divine appointment in this world. I don't know why God created the Neanderthal. I don't know why the ancestors allowed the Neanderthal to take black glory away from Africans. I don't know the answer to that. But I do know that I have no right to get angry at the Neanderthal nation for carrying out their divinely appointed responsibility. I cannot get angry for the Neanderthal nation for carrying out their divinely appointed mission. In other words, the Neanderthal was created to sabotage the African's destiny to achieve supreme consciousness as a race of people. I'm going to say this again. The Neanderthal was created to test the African, to challenge the African, to sabotage the African. Stop being angry at your enemy for doing what he was created to do. Stop being angry at your enemy for carrying out his divinely appointed mission. The Neanderthal was created for the express purpose to challenge the African, to force you to achieve God consciousness or live in eternal hell. The purpose of the Neanderthal, his institutions, his wars, his science, his economics, his culture, his philosophy. He was put on earth to destroy the African's destiny to reunite with his creator. And either we will achieve our destiny as a people, which is the reunification with the Black God of Africa. We will either achieve our divinely appointed mission on this planet, which is to reunify with God, or we will live in hell with the devil. Let me say this another way. No Queen Dells. No. Destroying what the white man has created does not achieve liberation. Destroying what the white man has created does not achieve liberation. Let's just say, peace and love, Queen. If the white man left America right now, if the white man left Africa right now, if the white man left Brazil right now, if the white man left South Africa right now, you would still be in hell because you have copied and studied your oppressor. You have made your life and your reality a total reflection of his life and his reality. So destroying his system does not bring you political or spiritual liberation. And let us be clear, we must achieve both. Let us be clear, we must achieve both. You cannot ignore political liberation just because you're on a spiritual journey. You cannot ignore political liberation just because you are on a spiritual journey. Too many of you Negroes think that you can opt out of the political struggle and just focus on your spiritual journey. You can't. There are two sides of one whole. You want to know why? How can you become a spiritually enlightened being knowing your brothers and sisters are living in hell, existing in hell, catching hell every day? How can you consider yourself a spiritually advanced African knowing that the rest of your African people are unemployed, underemployed, killed off by the police, mass incarcerated, miseducated, mistreated? There's no such thing as a selfish, spiritually liberated people. There's no such anybody who tells you that they are spiritually advanced Anybody who tells you that they are spiritually advanced and they're not doing anything to liberate African people, they are a hypocrite. You cannot be selfish and spiritually inclined. This is why the black church is so filled with hypocrites. This is why the black masjid is so filled with hypocrites. This is why the black Jehovah Witness temple is so filled with hypocrites. This is even why so many black nationalist religious organizations. This is even why so many black nationalist religious organizations are hypocritical. You cannot be selfish and claim to be spiritually inclined. You can't do both. So when you find a church that says we only feed hungry people in our congregation, but we don't feed hungry people who live in the neighborhood where the church is, that is not spiritual growth. That is selfishness. When you go to a masjid or a Jehovah Witness temple or a Hebrew temple, you go to an Episcopalian church or a Methodist church or a Seventh-day Adventist church or traditional African Ile, and they tell you, we do take care of the people, but only the ones who belong to this religion. They are not spiritually progressive people. You cannot be spiritual and be selfish at the same time. You cannot be spiritual and be selfish at the same time. You cannot be spiritual and be selfish at the same time. You mean to tell me you live in a neighborhood where the children don't get a nutritional meal? You live in a neighborhood where the children do not get a nutritional meal. But you're not going to go out the church, out the mosque, out the temple, out the Ile to go feed those children because their parents don't choose to worship God the way that you do. That is not spiritual advancement. That is selfishness. That is not spiritual advancement. That is selfishness. We have this idea that if we imitate the white man enough, we will be happy. We have this idea that if we replicate the white man enough, we will be happy. We have this idea that if we pursue money and materialism enough, we will be okay. You'll never be okay. No African will ever achieve peace of mind operating in a European mindset. No African will ever achieve peace of mind operating in a European mindset. No African will ever achieve peace of mind operating in a European mindset. And then you get these identity addicts. Let's talk about the identity addicts for a minute. I am an African. I am a Pan-Africanist. I am a revolutionary Pan-Africanist. I am a Pan-African nationalist. I am a Garveyite. I am a Pan-African fundamentalist. Identity is important, but identity by itself is not a solution. Identity is important, but identity by itself is not a solution. The problem with Black consciousness is we have so many identity addicts. We got people who make you think that if you just identify as a Muslim, all your problems will go away. You have people who will make you think if you just identify as a Hebrew, all your problems will go away. We got people who think that if you just identify as a Christian, all your problems will go away. If you just identify as an African, all your problems will go away. Identity is important, But identity will not change nothing about you. Identity is not by itself sufficient to solve any of your problems. But you have Negroes who are so addicted to their identity crisis. We have so many Negroes who are so addicted to an identity crisis that they can never talk about solving any problems. All they talk about all day long is how you need to be a more. You need to be a more. You need to be a more. You need to be a Muslim. You need to be a Muslim. You need to be a Muslim. You need to be a Hebrew. You need to be a Hebrew. You need to be an indigenous sovereign. You need to be an indigenous sovereign. You need to be a Cherokee Indian. You need to be a Cherokee pretendian. You need to be a Cherokee pretendian. You need to be a freedman. You need to be a freedman. You need to be a freedman. Brothers and sisters, no name is going to change the stain on your political character. No name is going to change the stain on your political character. If you think you can outname oppression, you have lost your mind. Show me a people in world history who were able to end oppression by changing their name. Name me a people who were able to end oppression by changing their name. Name me a people who were able to end oppression by changing their name. Now, let's get back to the point. Let's get back to the point. Let's get back to the point. Imitating the European is spiritual suicide for African people. Imitating the European is spiritual suicide for African people. Imitating the European is spiritual suicide for African people. This is why when you go to college and get your education, this is why when you go to college and get your education, you have to make sure you don't become a European robot. We have too many Africans who want to become European robots. So many of our people are doing nothing but imitating Europeans. Look at our rappers and athletes. All they want to do is imitate the life of the European. Your worth. Brothers, we must stay focused at all times. Brothers, we must stay focused at all times. It is absolutely consciousness first. You have rappers and athletes and celebrities who imitate Europeans. You're worth $20 million and all you want to do is imitate white folks. You're worth $100 million and all you want to do is imitate white folks. You're worth $1 billion and all you want to do is imitate white folks. Brothers and sisters, we have to get better than that. The white man has brainwashed the African into thinking the pursuit of money and materialism is the highest purpose of your existence. Spiritual famine. Spiritual famine. Spiritual famine. African people's purpose on life is not the pursuit of money and materialism. That's ice trauma. That's ice trauma. That's ice trauma. That's ICE trauma, brothers and sisters. That's ICE trauma. Your purpose in life is to build, to create a more abundant, healthy society for African people. Revolution is not just to throw off the chains of slavery. Revolution is not just to overcome white supremacy. Revolution is about the evolution of a consciousness. Revolution is about the evolution of a consciousness that will give birth to a reality for African people that is unlike anything they have ever seen from the European. I'm going to say it again. I'm not fighting just to rid myself of white supremacy. I'm not fighting just to rid myself of white supremacy. I'm fighting because we as a people are so pregnant with the potential to produce a greater human reality that the world has never seen. Brothers and sisters, we can create a civilization greater than we had in Kemet. We can produce a civilization greater than we had in Timbuktu. We can create a civilization greater than we had on the Nile Valley. I'm saying that we can create a life for our people that would make the whole world fall down on both knees and prostrate before the glory of African people. I want you to understand me. I want you to understand me. I want you to understand me, and I want you to overstand me. I want you to understand me. I want you to understand me, and I want you to overstand me. You have in you a divine force, an extension of supreme consciousness. It is in you. And if you can get in touch with that energy in you, you will be able to tap into a force that will give you the ability and the methodology. Because you just can't have the ability, you also got to have the methodology. You just can't have the ability, brothers and sisters, you also got to have the methodology. But you have within you a piece of the divine that if you can touch it and get in touch with your God self, we can give birth to a civilization for African people greater than anything we did in antiquity. We can create a civilization that is so great that the Arab will get on his knees and bow out of respect. The Asian will get on his hands and knees and bow out of respect. The Anglo-Saxon will get on his hands and knees and bow out of respect. The East Indian, the Mexican, will get on his hands and knees and bow out of respect. If you Muslim, Islam and the Holy Quran, which I respect. If you are Muslim, Islam and the Holy Quran, which I respect, can be your foundation. But if you tell me you cannot conceive of a spiritual reality greater than that within the book of Muhammad, if you cannot conceive of a spiritual reality greater than what you are taught in the masjid, if the masjid is your plateau, if the Holy Quran is the furthest you can go spiritually, if the Holy Bible is the furthest you can go, if the Holy Torah is the furthest you can go, then respectfully, I'm here to tell you, you are limiting your potential as a divine agent of a new African world order. If you cannot think beyond your religion, nothing's wrong with your religion. Don't misunderstand me. I don't have a problem with your religious obligations, but I'm saying that religion should inspire you to grow beyond it, because our potential is so much greater than the Bible. Our potential is so much greater than the Quran. It's even so much greater than our sacred African texts. If evolution is a principle of existence, if evolution is a principle of existence, if evolution is a principle of existence, we must evolve to be greater than that which came before us. Understand, overstand me. If evolution is a principle, if it is a divine rule that we are put here to grow, growth is evolution. Growth is evolution. Growth is evolution. So if evolution is a principle of divine existence, you must evolve greater than what you've been taught at church. You must evolve something greater than what you were given in the masjid. You must evolve something greater than you was given from the Moorish Science Temple or the Nation of Islam or the Hebrew. No disrespect. But if you're going to put a ceiling on your spiritual growth, if you're going to put a ceiling on your spiritual growth, if you're going to put a glass ceiling on your spiritual growth and say, I can't do nothing greater than what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. I can't do nothing greater than what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said. I can't do nothing greater than what Dr. Malachi Z. York said. I can't do nothing greater than what Yahweh ben Yahweh said. I can't do nothing greater than what Creflo Dollar said. I can't do nothing greater than what T.D. Jakes said. I can't do nothing greater than what the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said. I can't limit myself to the teachings of Garvey. Garveyism is the foundation, but I must take it further than he did. Garveyism is my foundation, but I must build upon that foundation. You don't ever let an organization or an individual put a glass ceiling on your spiritual potential. You don't ever let an organization or an individual put a glass ceiling on your spiritual elevation. I don't care who it is. That's why in Pan-Africanism, we believe in freedom of spiritual practice. As Pan-Africanists, we believe in freedom of religious activity because we know as Africans, the reason Pan-Africanists don't have a religion is we understand that the nutritional needs of African people are very different. The nutritional needs of African people are very different. Read the Bible, but don't be limited by the Bible. Read the Quran. Don't be limited by the Quran. Read the Holy Odu-Ifa. Don't be limited by the Holy Odu-Ifa. Read the Dhammapada of Buddha, but don't be limited by the Dhammapada of Buddha. Read the Bhagavad Gita of the East African Indian family, but don't be limited by the Bhagavad Gita of the East African spiritual family. All I'm saying is the books and the religions and the spiritual organizations are references. The books and the organizations and the spiritual houses are references. You can't put God in a book. You can't put God in a church. You can't put God in a mosque. You can't put God in a temple. You can't do it. And if you can't put God in a box, nobody should be able to put your soul in a box. If you can't put God in a box, nobody should be able to put your church in a box. Sister Rochea, you operating on low energy right now. Sister Rochea, you operating on low energy right now. I did not disparage or down talk my Nation of Islam brothers and sisters. I did not disparage or down talk my Nuwapian brothers and sisters. I did not disparage or down talk my Hebrew brothers and sisters. I did not disparage or down talk my fellow Pan-Africanist brothers and sisters.